Welcome to She's Got Guts, where functional nutrition meets ancient wisdom to bring you grounded insights and practical tools for your wellness journey. Join Laura, licensed Eastern medicine practitioner and wellness wizard, and Molly, registered dietitian and gut health expert, as they unpack trends, tackle bloating, balance hormones, and help you thrive in modern womanhood without completely frickin' losing your mind. Let's do this. Welcome.
Let's talk about how crazy this is.
It is crazy. It's crazy on a lot of levels. Yeah, it's not great. It's not a good look. It's not great for anybody involved.
No. And the pattern of, the corporations and the politics and the food and the humans all combined into one to come down to truly just not being amazing for the human's health is unfortunate in this situation. So we want to help empower you to understand it better, and also some simple things to help you kind of not try to eat it, period. Let's avoid it if we can.
Glyphosate is a non-selective system biocide, and it is the most widely used herbicide in the world. So also known as Roundup, you spray it on your weeds, they die, and it's used large scale for like major crops, and as the United States, as we know, feeds many other places in the world. So basically, if a bunch of bugs came and ate everything and killed everything, then we wouldn't have enough food to feed the rest of the world and to make Cheetos, obviously, which is very important. And so this is the solution. Now, are herbicides used in other countries? Yes, absolutely.
One thing I wanted to add too is that from when I was taking a minute to read up on it, that the glyphosate is actually a genetically modified organism of Roundup, because it's specifically its original use as Roundup killed the whole plant. But we don't want anything killing the whole plant. So we made it selective so that it would stop the growth of like the proteins inside of the plants themselves. So that means here we are working with the genetically modified part of Roundup, which is very interesting.
It is interesting. And fun fact, it is produced by Monsanto, and they actually were founded in 1901. And believe it or not, some of their biggest hits are DDT. Remember when they used to spray DDT from the sky?
Yes.
Dioxin and Agent Orange, all which have since been banned in the US.
Yeah.
And they're still prevalent in our river soils and animal tissue.
Yeah, was it 6 years that it takes for it to go away out of the 6 years for the turnover? I think it was.
I don't know. They haven't sprayed DDT since the 90s.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant like Roundup to get out of the tissues.
Oh, yeah.
Or the soil. I think it's like 6 years if you leave the soil alone that it takes for it to do it. And maybe with regenerative agriculture, you would be able to focus on that and get some good bugs in the soil in order to make that go a little quicker. My guess is probably yes. But if you just leave it, I think it takes 6 years, which is a long time.
Yeah, that's a very long time when you think about like a baby and then a 6-year-old.
Yeah, and you could still grow stuff in it. You'd have to supplement it.
Of course.
But it's still going to be in there. So you'd want to crop. So you're like, can you please label my broccoli? How many years has it been since you sprayed Roundup on there? I mean, it sounds like you're from Portland, where we like name our chickens and eggs before we eat them. You know what I mean? When they don't have genders. So it's like, whatever.
Can I see the chicken's house? Roundup was originally sprayed on weeds found only in corn and soybean, but they found that some weeds developed a resistance to it. And that's what you're talking about, where they modified it so that it can they modified the seed so that it would be resistant to Roundup, but the weeds could be killed by Roundup, essentially. And now this has expanded to include corn, canola, alfalfa, cotton, and wheat, obviously. Roundup is found in 70% of our food.
That's a lot of percentage. And also, I guess they've even genetically modified some of it to where I think it was beans that already have glyphosate in it as a bean before it even grows, so that it can avoid the process of getting the bugs to begin with.
Don't come for the beans.
They can think of everything, which like part of me is like, that's so cool. Like, what a cool invention, blah, blah, blah. Like, rad. But also, no. I mean, we are the giant experiment for the last 40 years, right? Let's see how humans can tolerate glyphosate. How long can they have it?
I mean, a long time. And it's toxic. So it's toxic to our gut microbiome. It's been shown to cause a variety of health conditions. It's linked to colon cancer, kidney cancer, lymphoma, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, as well as since 2006, which is around the time that it got big, there's been a 400% increase in celiac disease and a huge increase, obviously, in gluten sensitivity.
Yeah.
And 85% of all Roundup used in history has been used since 2006. So that's insane.
Yeah. Oh, it's
But
just too
once
much.
upon a time, someone came to the rescue. Okay. So in 2016, a couple big law firms came. They gathered enough evidence of cancer risk with Roundup and they sued Monsanto in 2016. Guess who was the leader of that? Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, yeah, let's do some push ups in the sauna, baby. Oh, yeah, with my jeans on.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. In his lawsuit specifically, a high school groundskeeper got cancer caused by Roundup, and
Yeah.
he was paid $290 million. Okay. So it's not like they are saying that they didn't do it. But
Yeah.
then, Laura, what happened recently? So why are we even
Yeah.
talking about this?
I know. We're talking about it because in March, February
February.
17th, I want to say, Trump signed an executive order that put it underneath our Defense Protection Act. So now we're going to increase the domestic production of glyphosate and elemental phosphorus, which I didn't dive deep on that. So I'm not sure how those are related, but probably something, in order to declare these chemicals critical not only to national security, but for our food protection and for economic stability. And
So
what did
let's break
RFK
that
think
down.
of that? I
So
guess
what did RFK
it's
think of
going to
that?
have to be fine then. Sure. I
Yeah, he
guess.
did. He did. And then a couple days later, he was like, "Well, I don't think it's that fine." But it was already over.
Right. And without getting too deep into our MAHA stuff, they're upset.
We can get deep
They're upset.
because here's the thing. With MAHA, we know, we've talked about this before. There was like a good, I think, origination of some of this opinion because like Laura and I don't want food dyes. We don't want
No.
ultra processed foods to be contaminated with all this shit. We don't want there to it to be a trickle down effect that the cheapest foods are also containing all of these like binders and preservatives and bullshit that
Yes.
people are eating because of an economic disparity. And we also don't think that kids should be taking cough syrup and their only option is cough syrup with red dye. Like it's literally
Yes.
impossible
Yes.
to find. Like you have to order it on Amazon and wait like 3 days. So
Well, lucky us here in Portland, we do have lots of things at like our New Seasons and our Whole Foods and those sorts of things, but they're not
Right.
fully accessible to everyone. If you can go to the fancy
Well,
store, you can get
yeah.
it. Otherwise, sorry.
Like for me, the closest
free, like,
health food
Benadryls
store
and
is
those
like a
sorts of
half
things,
hour
but-
away. So I'll go, and do like my whatever. But for the most part, I just go to farmers markets and stuff around here. If I'm sick, I'm not wanting to drive and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess like it's just very frustrating because obviously I live in South Carolina. Things here are obviously different than they are in Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
I live in the mountains of South Carolina. But overall, we agree, right? Like we want America to be healthy. We don't think that, highly processed items in food are a good idea. So
Yeah.
nobody is arguing that. But I think
Right.
what's happened is what's happened with our entire country. And Laura, tell me what you think too. But I think that our entire country is divided. And I know
Yeah.
this because I live here. I have friends obviously in the North and the West, and everybody has a very like extreme, dramatically different opinion. And so
Yes.
it's interesting from where I'm sitting to hear all these opinions. When someone feels passionate about something, then they get very aggressive about it. And in the States today, that aggression is not in a debate way anymore. It's like in a volatile way. And so it's like, well, I'm right. And, how could you want to poison everyone and blah, blah, blah. So it becomes
Yeah. Like our
like a
tolerance
witch
to
hunt.
have like our tolerance
have a
to have a
conversation.
conversation is a lot different. Yeah. I would
It's
agree.
low.
Yeah. It's very low.
And that's because each of us is to some degree, I think, angry for our own reasons about our own things. And that's valid. So nobody is telling you to not feel the way that you feel. But But I think what bothers me personally is that, you
Mhm.
know, he ran on this platform of, I'm an environmental lawyer. I'm against pesticides. You know, I did this
Mhm.
whole lawsuit in 2016 against
Mhm.
Monsanto, like blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And then as soon as big money, big pharma, Bayer, who now owns
Mhm.
Monsanto, comes at them and says, well, you can do whatever you want, but this is not going away. Not
Yeah.
only is it not like just quietly continued to be the way that it is, but now we're increasing production and
Yeah.
now we're throwing national security in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's getting a nice amount of money for making sure they get to produce as much as they want. And I mean, I don't think that using more Monsanto on our crops, like if there's a different message behind here, like food security, if it really is about food security, I mean, I kind of wish we would have a bunch of farmers from across the nation on here today to hear what they had to say about it.
Yeah.
Like, does it
Yeah.
actually help their crop? Would they rather do regenerative stuff? Is it? I am sure that with the amount of production that they have to do to keep up with corporate profits, that it's very difficult to produce high quality food. I mean, okay, this is really interesting. This came across me, or this has come into my life recently. And there's this company that came to my front door. They're called Full Circle. And they're kind of like this mix of imperfect produce, which I don't know if you've heard of them, if that's on your side of the country, but essentially they send you like all the
Oh,
produce
yeah. Like
that
a
is
box
fine, but
of,
it just looks funny,
mm-hmm.
right? Like your carrot's got two heads on it or whatever. It's great, whatever. And their tech was really good. You know, you could easily skip something. It was very easy interface, super user friendly. And usually when you have like a CSA, meaning it's coming from very local, very close to you, like within 100 miles
It's
sort of
like
thing,
a subscription box of farm.
that you just kind of take what they get. Well, this is cool because it kind of morphs the two together. You get a
Right.
lot of local stuff and they have all the tech to go along with it. So I love
Mm-hmm.
talking about it because I think that it's a really great company to support if you happen to be around here. And no, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but we got some carrots the other day, which I wish that I had one with me right now, but they were literally as long as like my forearm and they came with and like as round as I don't know, probably like 2 inches round. And
Mm.
they had all the greens on top of them. And I sat them next to those fast food carrots, right? Like we get the little teeny tiny carrots.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so incredibly different. And I had my boys
Yeah.
taste them. I was like, guys, try this carrot. And they're like, ooh. And it does, the actual real, I call it a real carrot because I'm like, this is what I remember from a kid, like picking it out of the ground and kind of shaking it off and just eating it. Like maybe we would
Right.
rinse it. But it's amazing to me how there is opportunities to be able to support that, but those people aren't growing with Roundup. You're going to deplete the soil over time, and then you end up adding more. And I just can't imagine that the farmers feel like that's something that is sustainable for them, like being in the bubble of the corporate profit bubble. I think it's too
Well,
much for Mother Earth.
actually, yeah, no, I agree. But did you know that if you don't spray Roundup or whatever the generic is, I guess,
Mhm.
glyphosate, then they will like sue the shit out of you until you go out of business. So
Yeah.
like most farmers don't have a choice because they don't have enough money to get certified organic because that's very expensive. And
Mhm.
then to continue to, because there's like a lot of additional hoops to jump through that, even like
Mhm.
local farmers, a lot of it's not organic, but it's going to be much more organic than anything you would get in the store. And because of those regulations, it's like you're either organic or you have to use GMO. And
Right.
organic farmers often report that they're right next to, I mean, Bakersfield, all that kind of thing. If you're right next to a GMO farm, you don't think that it's traveling through the water and the air and the pollen and all of
Oh,
that,
yeah. The cross
you
pollination
know?
is a big deal. And the birds
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
insects, they're all
Bees.
passing it around. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a
Like
number one thing
chlamydia.
for gluttons. Oh, I never thought to put a bee and chlamydia right side by side, but now in the bubble and glyphosate, here we are.
Here we are.
Oh, glyphosate is the chlamydia of the bee population. Okay.
And
Um,
it's killing the bees.
it
And
is, and that
it's
is not a good thing. We need bees bad.
And that's one of the reasons why we're not having as many farmers in a younger generation, because it's already so expensive now to farm commercially, but
Mhm.
also because you don't have a choice. Like, it's a very aggressive law that they're
Yeah.
working with.
Well, you know, and with these, this full circle thing that I'm getting, the reason why I keep mentioning this is because I think it has a little bit to do with kind of how people are working around it, because there are also different things that you can order on there, but primarily they're asking you to buy the romaine from this farm that's 40 miles away from you or something. But they definitely have like the packaged organic stuff, right? So, like you were saying, it's either organic. So, some of these things, I mean, some of the homegrown ones, they'll say, like, they're known for being organic, but they'll say, we don't, like, there was a dairy in there that technically isn't organic, but they're doing it in a way that is like based on this old French way of making yogurt, and they're small batch and all these other things. So they're like, we don't have any reason to put organic on it. There is absolutely, like, in any way it would complicate our process. So it's almost like
Right.
leave well alone, and just
Right.
it sucks that we can't trust that we can go buy a carrot and be like, what is on
Yeah.
here? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And where's the flavor and where are the nutrients? Because that's something else that has kind of gone by the wayside between the soil content and the modifications. And now
Yeah.
genetic modification doesn't necessarily mean something's bad. You know, like, it can be used to whatever,
It
create
makes a red
all
apple
kinds of
redder.
things
It
that
makes
are
something more shelf
right.
stable. It might make them bigger. I mean, you think about
Well,
apples
but
used to be small and more sour and more bitter, and now they're like big and sweet. I mean, that's genetic modification right there.
yes, seedless lemons.
Seedless watermelons. Yeah,
Yes.
not all genetic
But
stuff's
like
going to kill us. We just have to be mindful
rennet,
of how we're eating it.
right. Rennet, which is used to make cheese, is genetically modified, but we, still use it, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? So it's not like
Yeah.
every single thing that is a GMO is a problem.
Yeah, but when you're altering food and upping production of something that clearly is not
That's
healthy
where
for
it's
corporate
it's
profit,
the
that's
yield.
where you draw
Yes.
the line. I'm
Right.
sorry.
And
No.
there's a difference. Yeah. There's definitely, I'm just trying to make the distinction between
Yeah.
like the corn, soybean, wheat bullshit and then
Yeah.
something normal.
Well, we get that dependent on, we put all these corn-based products in our, corner stores, and we make all of the fast food relying on it. And now all of a sudden there's way more companies that are relying on their boards to be satisfied with their profits quarterly. And now we're just in a cycle we can't get out of.
Well, and so that's one of the things I think that Dr. Mark Hyman posted on Instagram, because he, like, the day that they came out with this order, and he's like a big wellness, like, he's one of the first.
It's been around for a long
So the
time.
day they
Yeah.
came out with this order, he posted a picture of him with like the people from Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, like learning about functional medicine at his office. And all the comments were like, oh, really? Because you've been speaking out against glyphosate for years and years and years. And so he did this whole big post about this executive order directed to federal support for domestic production of glyphosate. And his take, which I do, and it's now expanding production in the environment carries legal exposure. So this Defense Production Act basically means that people cannot sue them in the same way. And it could become part of how the existing lawsuits are now argued against.
Yeah,
Like,
it had to
it's a
do by like
matter of national security.
right. Yeah, it had to do with you can't sue at a state level anymore or something. Like it won't. You can't. Yeah, you don't have any individual right in your actual state, which is terrible.
So he says CDC data from 2013 to 2018 shows 70 to 80% of Americans have detectable levels in their urine. No shit. I don't know who the 20% are, but I'm pretty sure that they live in, on a reservation or something. I mean, I can't imagine who doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, just with everything that we've said here. Now, the last thing that I thought was interesting. Oh, right. What about human research? Well, you can't expose people to different doses to see what disease develops. So I thought that was a good point. So we
Yeah,
have to
but
use
you can test
observational studies
people.
instead of controlled trials,
Well, you can use
which I'm
controlled
not.
trials if you test humans, which there are some. When you test humans that work in the environment and that live close to the environment, and then you
Oh.
can compare that to people that live
Mhm.
farther away. And
Hmm.
I think that's actually a really good way to do it, because then you're getting a
I
very
agree.
clear picture of the level of exposure and how much is in the
Yeah.
body and what that can mean for a certain population. Because it matters too, like
Right.
if they live in a food desert, and if they're, what is their water like? Are they getting exposed and drinking it in the water? Are they getting food that's
Mhm.
grown with it? Like, are they getting just the trifecta of Roundup? I mean, I think that's probably where you see a lot of those non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cases, is where people are just too close to it.
Right. Yeah,
And man, how shitty would
absolutely.
that be to live in a town where you're like, yes, this big company's coming in and everyone's going to have jobs and it's going to be so great. And we're all going to have, more money and consistency. And then you find out the double side of that sword is that, well, sorry, you actually are getting major exposure
And I
to
think that
a really
happens with a
bad
lot of
herbicide.
industries, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we're
I'm
doing a quarry and then you're going to get all the heavy metals in your water now. And,
Which is why
but,
processes like that at the state level are really important, to be able to protect
hmm,
yourself as a community, to be able to vote on whether
right.
or not you want that in your community. I know out in the gorge here, everyone's trying to figure out whether or not they want Amazon and Google to lay down more AI buildings.
Yeah. Up here
And
too.
I think that's pretty common everywhere right now. I mean, they
Hmm.
take up so much energy. That's like a whole conversation on its own. But
It is.
yeah.
So the administration says, again, this is part of their bigger overall plan to transition to regenerative agriculture, but without destabilizing the
Oh,
food
you
supply. But
can't do.
you can. So they're saying, well, the food
Sorry, those
supply,
don't go together.
like if you were to just pull all of these products out, first of all, we need now all new seeds. There's going to be this crazy weed revolution where everything is going to get eaten by bugs and killed by weeds and choked out and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I do to some degree, like, I mean, naturally speaking, I think we can zoom out and see how that would be possible because we've all had a garden that then we haven't paid attention to or whatever, right? And we've seen it, how quickly it is
Yeah.
gone.
Well, and we're
But
community-driven humans. If we all believed in it, we could make it happen.
well,
But I am
yes,
just
but
a
what I'm
hopeful
saying
human.
is I think that it would take longer. Like it's kind of like I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but basically if we are creating a certain amount of the food supply for the rest of the world, whatever that percentage is,
Mhm.
then we're in a situation where we're responsible if people start dying because they don't have genetically modified corn, soy, and wheat because we don't
Mhm.
have enough because everything is getting, for the first couple of years all fucked up. So I
Mhm.
think that's understandable. But the fact that it's not even like we're starting a plan to transition or this is not something that we can address at this time, like there were a lot of different
Mhm.
things that they could have done beside making
Mhm.
it a matter of national security.
Yeah. Well, there's too much
Y-
profit to be made at this point.
yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess
It's
so. And it's just crazy to me that like that's what I mean, I know that it
This is what
happens,
happens when
but
when we're run by men, is because they wait till the last minute to take accountability and apologize and take action. Triple A's don't happen until every shit's falling apart. I'm ready for the matriarchy.
the matriarchy needs to
I mean, I
up
love
to
me
it.
some men. Don't get me wrong. Just not the really old ones right now that aren't doing a very good job. Not a man hater.
Yeah, that's funny. I saw this TikTok and it was this kid. He was like, "Can Gen X just take over?" It's like, no,
Yeah, let's
because you're
see
gonna
what
have
you.
to pry this power out of these people's cold dead hands. And I
Yeah.
also, pessimistically think that people who were trained by these other people, like, to some degree, I think it doesn't matter how old you are,
It's always going to be
because
there.
once
It's
you
always going to be the
see,
humans. Yep.
yeah, and it's always going to be like a power thing. And I think power obviously makes people really shitty.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
Well,
And
what's
certainly
funny
in
is you see
government.
people that do have the power, they'll give it up. Like, did you see the billionaire owner of Patagonia? He denounced himself as a billionaire like overnight.
Yeah.
Guess who
But
he
like
made the
for
sole
what?
beneficiary? Guess who he made the sole beneficiary of his money?
Oh,
Planet Earth.
wow.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's out
Yeah.
there. We need more billionaires that think like that.
But like at the same
And
time, I do believe that it's okay for people to have money and not give it away. I just think we could all be good humans,
oh, I don't know. I'm a firm
We could
believer
start
that the
there.
American dream is to make money, right? Like be here, come here, be successful, whatever. But to get to $1 billion, you do need to be using some sort of resource. There's something that's going to, nobody's making $1 billion unless they're cutting down a forest or putting
What about
plastics
Taylor
into the
Swift?
sea or something. Okay, yes, that is a great example. Music. There we go. Thank you.
What about
There's
Sarah
a
Blakely
good. Oh, Sarah Blakely.
of
Please tell me
Spanx?
who. Well, I don't know. How is she producing them? Are they ethically produced? Or are they made with
That's a
plastic?
good
Are they made
question.
with polys? You know what I mean? Like how far do we go back here? But
Mhm.
usually, fundamentally and conceptually, we're usually plummeting the earth of some sort in order to get to this $1 billion. As far as I'm concerned, once you hit $1 billion, you've done it. You win the American dream, gold award, it's yours. And everything after that, take care of your people. I'm sorry. You really don't need multiples of billions of dollars. And I'm sure billionaires would disagree because they're on power and they have a little bit of God complexes and they think that they're the smartest and they want to restructure things and stay the way that they are with their power. And fine, whatever. But I don't think they should exist. I think you should hit $1 billion and everything else should go right back into the community of keeping everybody like you did it. Good job. You win. Woo-hoo!
Now, do you normally view most things as black and white like that? Like this is the dollar amount and over that you're a piece of shit?
You're not a piece of shit. You just won. I mean, that's kind of like, that's the capitalism. You won capitalism. You did it. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you hit $1 billion, you are set. I mean, there's what, 25, 30 million. You start making enough money that you can literally not even have to work again and live very, very well just off
Is
of
it
your
only 30
interest.
million?
Something like that. I mean, it might be different
Oh my
now,
God.
but it's a thing. So when you hit that amount, you don't have to even think twice about anything anymore. And what you should be thinking about is the other people on the planet. I'm sorry. It's the way it is. You won capitalism. Move along.
You don't have to
Be
be
nice.
sorry for your opinion. That's for sure. I mean, I
Thank you.
think that's why we're here having these conversations. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And Bear, they've hit $1 billion a gazillion times.
Yeah, I know. It makes me
Mhm.
sad. I think the corporation part is for me. And,
Mhm.
and not like the small person corporation. Like, yes, I'm sure Spanx are made of plastic and, that's a whole other issue. But
Sure.
it's more like the bears. Like you could actually take all those brilliant science minds and create something that is regenerative and like dirt
Yeah.
cheap. You know what I mean? And I guess
Mhm.
that's the part that's like a bummer. Like, is it laziness? Is it like really that poisoning the people is the goal? Or is
No.
it just that people
Power and
don't like
profit.
these places don't change, but there'll be more profit in regenerative, I could argue.
Slower. Yes. But
Right.
slower. And it's not as fun and there's
Yeah.
not as much power and they don't get to think about how they get to be godlike. I don't know,
Okay.
man.
Well, I mean,
I'm
I
just
think you
over
still, if you
I'm so
created a
over it.
shitty, like a cheap regenerative product, that'd be pretty godlike in my opinion. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, and I think
Yeah.
it's just like a bummer, like really.
Mhm.
And I think, the more
I think
energy that
if
I
you
spend like furious about it, then the less energy I have to make the world a better place. So that's more like where I generally stand on all of these things. Like, okay, well,
Yeah. Well, I think
I'm
we
going to
can
help
all
someone
agree that if
instead.
we can find technology that's actually helping the food supply, not the complicated mess that we're talking about today, which it's very clear that I think everyone has an intuition inside of them that's like, yeah, that's probably not what's going on. Someone's making money here. That's the problem. We can all agree on technology that allows us to have, I don't know, help with something that would help the bees. We've got solar, we've got electric, we've got, I don't know, we're trying all of these different things to try to see if we can feed ourselves and breathe clear
Yeah.
air with as many that are on the planet. Like, yes, brilliant minds, get them together. Let's do it. But it
Yeah.
doesn't always have to be about making money, I suppose.
And like,
But it does.
I just wish that, the world, I guess, was a different place. But at the same time, then number one, of course, we're going to talk about what we can control. But number two, like, let's think about as we kind of go forward that people with very strong opinions now, the MAHA people, look
Mhm.
at the way that they react. And I feel this way about every group and every situation where there's something very clear that happens where it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't so right in my blind faith of whatever it was. Like,
Yeah.
look at the perfect example here of nuance, which we always talk about on this podcast.
Yes.
There
Always the
is
root.
like, we all agree that these principles would be good, but when you're out here, just like blind faith, and then you don't want to admit that maybe it wasn't quite right. Now everyone's
Mhm.
like, well, what do we do? How do we like get together and like, protest? And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, good question. Or people are still saying like, well, then it must be a big deal. And, instead of educating yourself about what it is. So I think the point of today was for us to help you to understand what this is and
Mm-hmm.
why this is such like a contradictory kick in the balls to
Mm-hmm.
anyone who thought that anything was going to come out of this administration, or really honestly like most administrations, for the
Mm-hmm.
better. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
always like you're saying, there's always some kind of corporate greed that
Mm-hmm.
we'll never understand.
Well, we understand exactly what it is. We just it's the power to fight it. It's all a big giant, puppeteering, and we don't know really
I
who's
don't
pulling the
default
strings
to that
most of the
thinking.
time.
It's so upsetting. It's
Hmm.
so upsetting. It
It
really,
is.
really is. And I'm
Well,
so
and
bummed because I thought maybe this would be the one thing. Like, okay, great. Well, if at least we're going to outlaw red dye, like that's one step
hmm yeah.
toward something of admitting. But then it's
Hmm.
like 19 steps back.
I know it's
The
so
worst
hard.
steps.
It
Yeah.
is. It's really hard. Well, one thing that we can do, I was actually posting about this yesterday on my social media, but at least my Lala's Wellness one, because I was like, I am doing so much self care these days when I'm opening up the news or just contributing or trying to stay informed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard on my soul. I have rage, I have sadness, I have confusion. I mean, there's just these constant things. And it's always like, what am I supposed to do? And I always default to like putting a mask on my face and putting a mask in my hair and wearing my red light. And I don't have a bathtub, sadly. So maybe I'll sit in the sauna or take a shower, whatever, go on a walk, all these defaults. But I find myself in a situation these days lately that it's just bringing me to baseline barely.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Okay. First of all, I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, just it's so much as an empathetic person. It's a lot. I have to figure out. It's so hard. I can't control this. All I can control is my response. That's
Right.
all I have. That is literally all I can do is control how I respond to this. And I can send love and send empathy. Like when we get in these moments where we do not have, we're like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I know I need to do something. What can we do about Roundup? How did it?
The first thing that I tell my clients with nervous system stuff is if you feel like you are doing all the self care things and all they're doing is getting you back to baseline, then it may be a good idea to take a little break from the news for a few days or a week or something like that and control what you expose yourself to. Because if you don't look, then it's not going to affect you. Does that mean that it's right? No. Is it okay and preferred to be informed and empathetic and passionate member of this country? Absolutely,
Mhm.
yes. But I
Yeah.
do think that if we're in a state where things are just feel like too much, like I know I get like that a lot, with multiple things, but certainly
Yeah.
with the health stuff, then is there a way to just like take a beat and give myself a break from looking at it? It's really hard not to,
Yeah.
but how can we deal with glyphosate?
Mhm.
Well, what's your
Yeah.
favorite thing about detoxification?
Yeah. Detox. Well, with detox, I think it starts with just being mindful of what you're putting in to begin with. I love to think
Mhm.
about the clean 15 and the dirty dozen,
Mm.
which we can make links for in the show notes here.
Mhm.
But that's a great way to start is what plants typically have a lot of bugs on them, like broccoli. Broccoli's got a bunch of little nooks and crannies for bugs to crawl into, and it's so delicious. So they're gonna love it. So it's always gonna have a lot of glyphosate or Roundup or whatever they choose to put on it.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I think that's my favorite one is just watch what you're doing to begin with and
Mhm.
maybe try to live in a place next to that isn't directly next to a giant
Yeah.
field where they're putting them in
Right.
the soil and the food. I have a funny story really fast. So when I lived in Montana for my freshman and junior year of high school, my mom was dating the man who owned like half of the butte that we lived under, and he was a cattle farmer and he grew wheat and stuff. And one of my things that I had to do to help repay him for a truck of his that I totally drove off a cliff
Oopsies.
It was I was really lucky that it was a big 350 engine because I probably would have been dead. It was upside down. Anyway, one of the things I had to do was help him on the farm. And what that meant was that I sat in this truck that was like kind of a homemade version of like it looked a little bit like a plane. Like there was wings coming out the side and then there was little tubes and it
Yes.
was my job to press the button and I can guarantee you guess what was coming out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Roundup.
Herbicides,
Hmm.
pesticides of sorts. And guess what I was doing? I was a teenager wanting some sun. So I'm sitting there in shorts and a bikini with no sunblock on, just soaking all of it up. I have no idea if this contributed to any of my chronic and continuing things that I deal with. I have no idea. But it's crazy to think about how that was the norm. Like, you weren't even
Yeah.
thinking about it. I was like, well, I have
Yeah.
to do this actually because I have to help pay off this truck I just drove into the into the ditch. So
Right.
there we
Well, and that was
go.
before anybody knew anything. I mean, there was no way to communicate
Yeah.
nationwide like we do
Yeah.
now. So,
Right.
like
That's a good
through no
point.
fault of your own.
Exactly. But if, I'm sure that as an athlete, I was sweating all the time, which is also a great way to get things out of your
Yes.
tissues. Yes.
Yes, it
All the
is.
time.
Sweating.
Sweating,
Were
sweating,
you
sweating.
crying?
I sometimes
Detoxification.
cried. Yes, I cried. I cried. I don't know if it was
That's
enough to
good.
get glyphosate out of me, but I did cry. Didn't eat as many greens as I should have.
Okay.
I will
And
say that.
greens, as you know from our
Mhm.
episode on greens, are really good for your liver.
Yes, we love the greens and bitter things. I really like
Yeah.
bitter things for detoxification too, just
Oh
because of
my
how
God.
good it is from, taste to hydrochloric acid to just digestion tip
Astringent.
top from the start. Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
acrid? Is that what it is?
It's bitter.
The bitter.
Yeah,
Bitter. Duh.
really gets
Okay.
those. Yeah, it really gets those digestive enzymes
Oh,
going.
okay. Got
What flavor is
it.
bitter, Lara?
Would that work on the sour? Yeah.
Exactly.
Broccoli, Brussels sprouts. We've got
Mhm.
artichokes, burdock, all that shit.
Burdock's a lovely, lovely herb for the
Love it.
liver. And dandelion. It's so
Hmm.
funny. It's like the irony is just not lost on me that we created this Roundup to get rid of dandelions, and dandelions
Yeah.
are literally the plant that can clean it. Well, I don't know if it actually can clean it out your liver. I don't know exactly the process of getting glyphosate out of your tissues. I'm sure it's detoxification at some level, probably
Right.
small level of exposure. At larger level, you probably need a different approach. But those things that turn over liver cells and help the liver detoxify are going to be helpful. A lot more crazy things I think that we get exposed to that the body does. Our body's smart. It does a great job of getting stuff out there.
It
Out
does.
of there. Yeah.
It absolutely does. According for the Agency for Toxic Substances, CDC, it is
Yeah.
primarily detoxified and eliminated from the human body by urine.
Oh,
Most of
yeah.
it leaving the
So,
parent
liver
compound,
and
most of
kidney.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, within a few hours to a few days. It does not undergo extensive metabolism in the liver, but some
Oh,
conversion to its metabolite occurs in the liver. So that's great.
okay.
/ not great
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
But it is known as a xenobiotic. So something like an external, thing that's changing
Gonna come
your,
in and change it.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Part of me feels like it touching on the liver is at least good because that is a great detoxifying organ that we
yeah,
have. I mean, I'd rather
yeah.
it went there than our heart. Our heart wouldn't know what the hell to do with it.
What do you use for kidney support?
Well, almost always adaptogens,
Okay.
just
Like
general
ashwagandha,
kidney support.
rhodiola, holy basil,
Yeah, I like those. I'm a big fan of
maca.
cordyceps. I'm a
Hmm.
big fan of turkey tail. I'm a big fan of reishi.
I never even
Mhm.
thought about mushrooms in the kidney.
Oh yeah, mushrooms are a
Duh.
really beautiful adaptogen. Mhm.
Oh my gosh, I am crushing
Yeah.
it with all this cube.
Yes, you are, ma'am. That is exactly right.
I love this for me.
I love this for you too. Yes.
That's
One scoop.
fantastic. So
One
Super
scoop.
Cube does help to detoxify things
Oh yeah, for
like
sure.
glyphosate.
For sure. Hmm.
I love
I mean, obviously
that.
there's no studies behind that, but if you think
No.
about the physiology and the
Hmm.
pathology and you think about the plant pharmacology, I
Ecology.
guess you'd say
Plant.
that we're good there.
Farm,
That's a great way
FARM.
to support. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
That is
funny.
a great way to support. I love
Mhm.
it.
Yes.
For detoxification, I also really like so sauna, sweating it
Mhm.
out, like really pulling
Dry
it out, red
brushing.
light kind of
Yep.
thing. Hmm.
Mhm.
And then
Castor
when we think
oil,
about
people like that.
the bowel movements, so we want them to be bulked and formed and complete. And one of the ways to really add
We
weight and
love
bulk,
the fiber.
yeah, especially the beans. We love the beans as long as they're
Which, by the
not.
way, when I just good old Googled it, this was just an AI response, but it was that beans had like the highest level, which was really sad to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when with stuff like that, though, that is really sad. Even
Yeah.
organic beans.
Well, obviously they're not using it on it to begin with, but
Organic beans are like not that much more expensive than regular beans. So that could be
right.
a direction that we could take. Somebody was
Hmm.
like trying to argue with me on the internet about how it's because I was like, well, you can have agency over yourself. I don't know why but sometimes, I'll just
Contributed.
say something nice and
Hey,
then everyone
man,
will get mad.
if you
And
want
so
to
you
argue
can't
with
say
me on
anything
my luteal
nice.
phase, please go right
I'm
ahead.
like,
Let's go
it
ahead.
was a man, probably a billionaire.
This
But
billionaire white man trying to get into my DMs when I'm
he was like,
luteal. Look out.
there's there's a disparity like between people. Some people can't afford to have agency over their choices. And I'm like, well, yeah, no shit, buddy. Like, that's why we're
Yeah.
all upset about this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't, this, that's
Yeah.
what
You're
goes
like,
back
that's
to
the
the red
point.
dye. Like, where have you been?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
not up for debate,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
understand that the two are very closely related, but the point that we are trying to make here and that I
Yeah.
sillily tried to make on the internet was that, there are things that we can do. And even no matter what your kind of level of grocery budget is, you can still make choices that are going to benefit pooping, peeing, sweating, and
Hmm.
maybe even crying, that are just same price as anything else that you would select. So even if you can't choose products, and I think this is not just people like living at the poverty level here, like groceries are very expensive. So many
Hmm.
people are now having to maybe reduce their standards of the groceries
Yeah.
that they used to buy versus now. And so in that case, then what can we do there? So if we can't always choose organic, or we can't always, kind of choose non-GMO from a health food store exclusively,
Hmm.
then we can limit our, like, have popcorn that you pop yourself instead of a bagged or boxed product
Right. That's
that's
not
made
organic. Yeah.
with like all the GMO type wheat stuff,
Hmm.
because those things are really easy to eat. They're disappearing calories. They're scientifically created to feel like you ate nothing so that you keep eating them.
Yes. Yes.
And then you eat way more. So you're not only consuming way more of them, but it's in
Hmm.
a way that you almost don't have control over through no fault of your
Hmm.
own. And
Yeah.
so thinking about, okay, well, then maybe instead of that, I'll wash my non organic grapes really, really well
Hmm.
and binge on those until
Yeah.
I have a really nice, complete bowel movement.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the Dirty Dozen is very fruit heavy.
Yeah, it
Strawberries,
is.
peaches, pears,
I think
nectarines,
because the
apples,
sugar,
grapes,
the
cherries,
naturally occurring
blueberries.
sugars,
I
bugs
mean, the
really like
only
those.
veggies are the greens, the spinach, kale,
Yeah.
collard, mustle greens, and green beans. Oh, and bell peppers. But the clean 15, where I was just thinking about your fiber, because I was like, what would be some like good foods where you're like, I know I'm avoiding this, but I'm also giving myself that fiber for the detoxification process. And I was wondering, look at this. So what's kind of interesting is that sweet potatoes don't fall into either character category. Not dirty dozen, but they're also not clean 15.
Well, most things aren't dirty dozen or clean 15 because there's
Yeah.
only 30
Pi-
things total.
Why is pineapple so clean?
Or
That's bizarre.
20 something things,
I
27
don't know
things.
if I like this source. Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
it's Environmental Working Group is where we should be getting the dirty dozen and the clean 15. And that's ewg.com.org.
Yes.
ewg.org. Duh. And that's where you can find information about your drinking water and all kinds of shampoos, cosmetics, all kinds of other things, but also the dirty dozen and the clean 15. And
Ah.
a lot of times, like, I think one of the things, like if melons, for example, like I think if the surface is easy to, like if the surface isn't necessarily touching the part that you eat, like a pineapple, then maybe
Yeah,
they
that's
think
true.
like, oh, well, you wash it and then you cut
Yeah.
it and then you throw it out. So
Hmm.
the level of exposure is,
Hmm.
whatever. But whatever. I don't know how
I
they do it.
know. Yeah. Well, I would think that with how many bugs does it really need, or how many bugs are attracted to it? How thin is the skin? Like grapes are one of the worst
Mhm.
because their skin is so thin and they are full of water.
Yes.
They are basically just little water blobs.
They are little water blobs, and non-organic grapes are high in sulfites,
That's why we
which
love the
can bother
wine.
people, give them histamine, give them migraines.
Ah.
Lots of glyphosate in wine that
Yeah.
they're finding. It's a
That's a
bummer.
bummer.
But
Oh,
we have
goodness.
done. So anyway, the moral of the story is that we can only control so much.
We
And
can. It's such a
we are here
bummer.
to be, I think, have beautiful conversations like this one
Mhm.
with each other to understand and just get more information. And then also, like, again, the number one thing that you can control is how you treat other people. And in this world, like, kindness and maybe taking a beat and trying to understand somebody else's point of view goes a really long way.
It sure
And that's
does.
free.
All you can control is how you respond. That's all you
Yeah.
got.
And
So be
what
kind.
podcast you listen to, which is this one.
Yeah.
But thank you for being
Aw.
here with us. Continue
Yes.
to let us know like what you want to learn about
Yes. We want
because we want to
we
learn
want
about
to
it
talk
too.
about it. We do. And we've got a
Yeah.
bunch of good guests coming up soon. I'm really
We have
excited
so
about
many good
that.
guests.
So
I
many
know, me
good
too.
guests. It's going to be great. We're getting them all booked. So keep your
We're
eyes
getting
out,
them all booked
kids.
up right now. So that'll start in about a month. And from there, we will see you next week.
Woohoo.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We offer personalized support to clients in many ways and would love to work with you. Reach out to Laura at Lala's Wellness and Molly at Women's Gut Health for more information. Unlock your full health and hormone potential with Super Cube, Boom Bomb, and Best Tea. Check out the link in the show notes for more. See you next Saturday.